This statement challenges a common misunderstanding that peace of mind means having no thoughts at all, that in order to be calm, the mind must become completely empty, like a blank canvas. But the truth is, the mind was never meant to be empty. Its nature is to think. Just as the heart beats and the lungs breathe, what causes suffering is not the presence of thoughts, but our relationship to them. Stillness does not mean shutting off the mind. It means learning to sit quietly within yourself, even as thoughts continue to arise. Imagine standing at the side of a busy road. Cars, your thoughts, keep passing by. Some are loud, some are fast, some are confusing. Most people step into the road and try to stop the traffic. They chase one car, get hit by another. They try to direct the flow, change the signs, reroute everything. The result is chaos. But stillness is found not in controlling the traffic, but in stepping back and watching. Not engaging, not reacting, just being aware. To master thought is to know which thoughts deserve your energy and which are just noise. It's knowing that you are not every story your mind tells you. You are not your fears, your projections, your what-ifs. You are the one who notices them. This kind of mastery begins with awareness, not aggressive control, but gentle observation. When you are aware of your thoughts, you begin to see patterns. You notice how a single memory triggers a chain reaction. You see how quickly the mind jumps from a small worry to a grand catastrophe. In awareness, you reclaim the power to choose, not to follow every thought, not to believe every story. Stillness is not passive. It is deeply active. It takes effort to be still in the presence of discomfort. It takes discipline to remain calm when the mind is restless. But with practice, this discipline becomes second nature. You begin to notice that even in the middle of noise, even in the presence of uncertainty, there is a silent center within you that remains untouched. This is mastery, not that the storm disappears, but that you no longer get swept away by it. Mika, you become the eye of the storm, calm, grounded, steady. Thoughts may come, but they no longer control you. You watch them arise and you watch them fall away. You begin to think not out of habit, but out of intention. Not from fear, but from clarity. The mind is one of the most powerful instruments we possess. It can imagine possibilities, solve complex problems, create art, analyze patterns, remember details, and anticipate the future. It allows us to reflect on the past and to plan for what's ahead. But problems arise the moment we forget its role, that it is meant to serve us, not rule over us. Many people live as if their mind is their master. They obey every thought without question, react to every mental image as if it were truth, and carry out whatever internal dialogue arises without pause. The mind says, "You're not good enough," and they believe it. The mind says, "Something terrible might happen," and anxiety takes over. In this way, the tool becomes the ruler, and that's when suffering begins. A tool has purpose. It is meant to be picked up when needed, used with skill, and set down when the task is done. A knife, for example, can prepare a nourishing meal, but in careless hands it can also injure. The same applies to the mind. It can help you move forward in life with clarity, or trap you in cycles of fear, regret, and endless mental noise. To live wisely is to reverse the roles. The one who is aware must sit in the seat of the master. That awareness, the quiet space behind the thinking, is your true self, the observer, the one who notices thoughts but is not caught inside them. When the mind is your tool, you use it when needed and rest it when not. You don't ask it to solve problems that don't exist yet. You don't let it drag you into imaginary arguments or recycled fears. You guide it instead of being guided by it. But the mind is clever. It doesn't surrender easily. It wants control. It thrives on activity and stimulation. It resists silence because in silence it loses its grip. That is why cultivating awareness through practices like meditation or mindful breathing is so important. These practices don't stop thoughts. They loosen the grip of identification. They show you, here is a thought, and here I am, seeing it. You begin to use the mind like a craftsman uses his tools, with care, with precision, and only when necessary. And just like any craftsman, you learn to clean and maintain your tools, to sharpen them through study and discipline, but never to confuse yourself with them. The mind is your servant, not your identity. It is a function, not your foundation. Overthinking is not something that happens now. It is something that pulls the mind away from the now, either into the past, where regret and self-judgment live, or into the future where fear, uncertainty, and control-seeking take over. But when the mind is rooted in the present moment, truly aware of what is happening right here, right now, overthinking cannot survive. It has no grounds to stand on. The present moment is simple. You breathe, you see, you hear. You feel the weight of your body, the texture of the air, the sensations of being alive. It is not fragmented into past memories or future predictions. It is whole, complete. And in that wholeness, the mind becomes still, not because it is empty, but because it is fully engaged. There is no space for mental spirals when attention is resting on what is rather than what was or what might be. Overthinking thrives in mental time travel. It is the replaying of conversations, the rewriting of events, the analysis of every possibility. The mind believes that by running in circles it can find safety or perfection or certainty. But all of this happens outside the present. Overthinking is a habit of the mind, not of awareness. When you come into the present moment, through breath, through movement, through attention, you step outside the thought loops. You are no longer fueling the story. You begin to see that most overthinking is not solving anything. It is simply the mind trying to feel in control. And ironically, the more it tries to control, the more it spins. The more it spins, the more disconnected you become from what's real. Being present does not mean that thoughts disappear. It means you are no longer possessed by them. You hear the thought, you see it. And you remain here where life is actually happening. In this state, there is clarity. You respond instead of reacting. You feel instead of analyzing. You experience instead of interpreting. The present moment does not rush. It does not grasp. It does not resist. These are the behaviors of an overthinking mind. The present simply unfolds. And when your attention is anchored in it, even for a few seconds, you realize how loud and unnecessary much of your thinking has been. Most of what we overthink never becomes real, but the breath in your lungs, the sound around you, the feeling of your feet on the ground, that is real. That is now. That is where peace lives. And where peace lives, overthinking cannot take root. There is a subtle but powerful presence within each of us, an unchanging space behind all movement, all thoughts, all emotions. It is not the thoughts themselves, not the feelings, not even the body. It is the awareness that observes them. This inner awareness is often overlooked, yet it is the one constant in all experience, and when it is recognized, it becomes the gatekeeper of the mind. Without awareness, thoughts enter the mind freely, unchecked. One leads to another, like guests walking into a house without knocking. Before long, the space becomes crowded. Judgment, fear, doubt, comparison, craving, each thought feeding the next, each emotion intensifying the lust. Without awareness, the gate is wide open, but awareness watches, it does not react. It sees clearly without rushing to fix or label. When awareness is present, the thought is just a thought, not a command. An emotion is just a wave, not a flood. You begin to witness the activity of the mind without becoming lost in it, and this witnessing changes everything. Inner awareness does not fight thoughts, it sees them. It does not suppress emotion, it allows it to move without control. In this way, awareness becomes the gatekeeper, not by force, but by clarity. It chooses what enters and what is simply allowed to pass by. It asks, is this useful? Is this real? Does this thought serve peace or disturb it? And through these questions, the mind becomes less reactive, more focused, more still. Awareness also reveals the patterns we live by. You start to notice what thoughts repeat daily, what emotional triggers surface again and again. With awareness, patterns become visible, and what is visible can be worked with. You are no longer blind to your own habits. You begin to reclaim the power that was once lost to automatic thinking and unconscious reaction. This awareness does not need to be created, it is already here. The practice is to return to it, to recognize it again and again throughout the day. A breath taken with full attention brings you back. The simple act of noticing your posture, the sound in the room, or the feeling in your chest is a doorway to it. From there, you become the one who sees, not the one who is dragged by every mental or emotional current. When awareness is strong, overthinking weakens. Because you catch the thought before it spirals. You notice the worry before it becomes a storm. You recognize the craving before it turns into action. The gatekeeper stands present, calm, watchful, not closing the gate out of fear, but choosing with wisdom what is allowed to shape your inner world. The mind is a master of creating stories. What could happen? What should have happened? What might happen if we choose wrongly? These stories often feel real, vivid, urgent, but they exist only in the realm of thought. They are projections, not reality, and the longer we remain in that mental space, the more tangled we become in illusions. Fear, doubt, indecision, regret. Action is what slices through those illusions. It brings clarity, not because it gives all the answers, but because it grounds us in what is real. Overthinking thrives on hesitation. It feeds on delay, analysis, questioning. The more we wait, the more space we give the mind to imagine problems that don't exist yet. One small question becomes a web of uncertainty. One step forward becomes 100 imagined outcomes. But action interrupts this cycle. It demands presence. It forces the attention out of imagination and into movement. When you act, you shift from passive mental engagement to direct experience. You stop guessing and start knowing. You stop spinning stories and start learning through doing. A decision made even imperfectly teaches more than 100 hours of contemplation. Action brings feedback. It shows you the truth of a situation, not your assumptions about it. Action doesn't mean rushing or reacting blindly. It means choosing with intention and following through with presence. It may be a small action, making a call, standing up, speaking a truth, letting something go. But in that moment, the fog of a what-if begins to clear. You no longer live in potential reality. You are shaping actual reality one choice at a time. Often people wait for clarity before taking action, but in many cases clarity comes through action. You may not know what the perfect path is, but the next step becomes visible once you begin walking. Thinking alone cannot resolve everything. Movement is needed. A stagnant mind cannot see clearly, just like still water becomes murky when undisturbed for too long. Action stirs the surface. It brings light to what was hidden. Illusions lose power when exposed to real conditions. Fear imagined is often far worse than fear faced. Problems magnified in the mind shrink when addressed directly. Even failure, when met with action, is less painful than the suffering created by constant mental rehearsal. The mind can create thousands of scenarios, but only action reveals which are true. The illusion of perfection too fades with action. You see that mistakes are part of progress, not proof of inadequacy. You learn that forward movement doesn't require full confidence, only willingness. Action humbles the mind, calms its storms,